Donald Trump reclaims the White House in a historic victory, with supporters celebrating near his Florida estate.
Clearly, God's plan was that Donald Trump should be the president.
We will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
Democratic candidate Kamala Harris promises a peaceful transition as she concedes the election after a bruising campaign. What does Trump's win mean for Taiwan? Analysts raise concerns about continued U.S. support. Plus, chip giant TSMC looks to give its potential overseas engineers a Taiwanese crash course. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Liao. We begin with the latest from the United States after Donald Trump won a resounding and historic victory in the presidential election. With more than 130 million votes counted, the Republican candidate has won 295 Electoral College votes, putting him well over the 270 threshold needed to win the White House. His Democratic opponent, Kamala Harris, has just 226. Trump won or is projected to win all 7 of the key swing states, including the 3 Rust Belt states in the North that were crucial to Joe Biden's win in 2020. Now all eyes will be on which of Trump's allies he'll put in the top positions in his government, who will drive the U.S.'s policy on immigration, foreign policy, and other key issues for the next 4 years. Following his election win, Trump spent the day at his resort in Florida. His supporters who were in the area were jubilant. Louise Watts spoke to a few in West Palm Beach.
Excited about the future, 18-year-old first-time voter Logan Kaplan has traveled almost an hour to come to West Palm Beach, Florida, to try and catch a glimpse of the newly elected president, Donald Trump. Kaplan says he wasn't initially a supporter of the Republican until an assassination attempt during the campaign.
Clearly, God's plan was that Donald Trump should be the president. I think that when his head moved half an inch, he would be dead. And if not for that, the country would be in a very different position. And I decided at that point that I was fully on the Trump train, and I am an avid supporter.
Kaplan initially moved to Florida to go to college, but dropped out. One of millions of non-college educated men courted by the Trump campaign to broaden their support. That, along with gains from minority voters, gave the former president an historic win. He will become only the second man to return to the White House after leaving office, and the first president who's a convicted felon. Donald Trump has been staying here in his beachside resort, Mar-a-Lago. His campaign says that he's received a congratulatory call from Kamala Harris and that both agreed on the importance of unifying the country. That's something that's going to be difficult after this turbulent election campaign. Trump and his allies called Harris a communist, and she called him a fascist, saying he was a danger to democracy because of his threats to prosecute his political enemies. But more than 72 million Americans voted for Trump, believing he ran a better economy and border than his successor Joe Biden and Vice President Harris. Mary Fry, who lives close to Mar-a-Lago, is also excited about the election result. She's had a Trump flag outside her home for 7 years, since he took office the first time. Now she says his leadership is needed again.
Have you been around since 2020? I mean, look at how the world is falling apart, the unnecessary wars. I have a child, he's 34 years old. I don't want war anywhere. I love someone that's going to sit down at the table and is going to negotiate before military is involved.
That hope and optimism is in short supply among Harris supporters, who are still shocked, like many across the world, that Trump defied assassination attempts, a criminal conviction, and other cases against him to make a stunning political comeback. He has vowed to heal the country, and he has his work cut out. Justin Wu, Ed Moon, and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
Meanwhile, Kamala Harris has conceded the U.S. presidential election. The vice president didn't address the crowd on election night as votes were still being counted, but she returned to the same location the next day to speak to the nation. Joyce Sung was there and brings us this report from Washington, D.C.
Stay engaged in the fight for freedom and the future of the United States was the key message of Vice President Kamala Harris's concession speech to the nation. The Democratic candidate saying that she's proud of the race they've run in record time, and though she's conceded this election, she is not giving up on the fight that's fueled her campaign.
We must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power. In our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States.
In less than 24 hours, the atmosphere has completely changed here at Harris's election night venue, Howard University. High hopes dashed at the vice president's alma mater, the historically black university, also holding special significance as many students here were hoping to witness the election of the first female president of the United States.
I felt a little hopeless this morning, feel kind of lost, and it feels like whiplash, kind of, going from last night to tonight, from today.
This is probably the second worst day of her life, and as a woman, we've been cut out of so many different places, and I know that I would want somebody to show up for me, so I knew I had to show up for her today.
Although we are probably one of the most progressive countries in the globe, we still have our issues too, and we have a lot of them.
It appears Harris was not able to overcome deep-rooted frustrations on the economy, the high cost of living following the pandemic, a key issue on voters' minds. But Harris says that her faith in the people of the United States is strong, and that sometimes only when it is dark enough will they be able to see the light. Lucy Lee, Andrew Ryan, and Joyce Sun in Washington, D.C. for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is denying media reports that President Liao tried to call President-elect Donald Trump. It comes as Taiwan is preparing to work with the incoming administration on security cooperation. But some in the country are concerned that the U.S.'s commitment to Taiwan's defense could now change. Jaime Okan has more.
Just hours after Donald Trump secured enough votes to become the next president of the United States, Taiwan's president, Liao took to social media, posting this congratulatory message. The last time Trump won office in 2016, he accepted a call with then-President Tsai Ing-wen, breaking decades of U.S. policy on Taiwan. Taiwan's presidential office has denied a report from U.S. media outlet Bloomberg that Liao tried to call Trump, saying instead that it's looking forward to working with the new administration. That message was also echoed by Taiwan's foreign minister, Lin Jialong, as he addressed lawmakers on what to expect with the incoming administration in Washington.
首先，川普首次执政时，包括开启对台军售常态化、高层访台、宣布放宽台美交往限制等，造就台美关系显著正向发展。我方让审慎努力推动川普新政府延续首次执政
Security and government officials are now warning that neighboring China, which threatens Taiwan with invasion, might use the transition period from Biden to Trump to increase pressure on Taiwan. But on the streets of Taipei, many have mixed feelings about the result and are hoping Taiwan's security is still a priority.
可能也是有一点觉得不安，想说不知道川普对台湾就是未来的一些态度会有什么样的改变。他就是有一直在提到说要付他保护费的事情，对，所以就是也不知道说后面他会就是怎么样去对台湾的一些可能会比较友善或者是比较不友善的一些态度这样子。
还是希望能够就是保护台湾这样，因为毕竟就是现在两岸关系比较这样紧，对。
我是台湾的自己的事情要靠自己了，我从来不认为说台湾的事情呢要依赖别人。
Trump known for his transactional approach to the U.S.'s international relations, says he's looking to put America first. Leading up to the election, Trump had previously criticized Taiwan for not paying for its defense. That's despite Taipei buying almost all of its weapons from Washington. Analysts say that with Trump now in office, that kind of rhetoric could be concerning for Taiwan and other allies in Asia.
I think Taiwan, like all countries, needs to approach this in a way that, tries to prove value to the United States and show why alliances and why security ties actually do matter in the context of broader American national interests.
Conservatives in the U.S. have urged other countries around the world to step up defense, saying it shouldn't just be the U.S. helping to ensure security. But with Trump's unpredictability, Taiwan, along with other Asian countries, will most likely have to invest more in defense spending.
I think there's more comfort in Asia than Europe with the prospect of more broadly in terms of Trump 2.0. I think it is likely that states within Asia will continue to increase their defense budgets simply because, in the world of Trump, commitments are not necessarily ironclad.
While the U.S. and Taiwan don't have official ties, it's still too early to tell if security cooperation between the two sides will change with a second Trump presidency. Patrick Chen, Cadence Quaranta, and Jaime Ocon in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
To find out more about the impact Donald Trump's election could have on Taiwan, Andrew Ryan sat down in Washington, D.C. for an exclusive interview with Bonnie Glaser of the German Marshal Fund.
Now, during the campaign, Trump mentioned a number of things related to Taiwan. One of the things he said was that Taiwan stole the United States chip business and that it should pay the U.S. for defensive weapons. What do you make of his comments and the implications it could have for Taiwan?
Well, I think that Trump said that Taiwan should pay for protection because they already pay for defensive weapons.
That's right, absolutely.
and because of the fact that the U.S. sells a lot of weapons to Taiwan, no other country in the world does, it all adds up. It's not protection money. These are for real capabilities to help Taiwan defend itself. And nobody should think otherwise. These weapons will help Taiwan, particularly the asymmetric weapons. We've recently seen a report that the HIMARS have been, some of them have been delivered to Taiwan. Very important capabilities. So yes, I think Donald Trump has said various things. That doesn't necessarily mean that they will be put into practice.
I do want to talk a little bit about Donald Trump's relationship with Xi Jinping, the Chinese president. He talks very favorably about him. He says Xi is a tough guy, invited him to Mar-a-Lago. Do you think that poses a risk for Taiwan?
Well, there are scenarios in which it could pose some risks. So during the Biden administration, when Xi Jinping met with President Biden, it has been reported at least 2 times that Xi Jinping has asked Joe Biden to do something on Taiwan. So he asked President Biden to stop Nancy Pelosi from going to Taiwan. President Biden did not do so. And then more recently, it was reported that he asked Joe Biden to say publicly that the United States opposes Taiwan independence. And our policy, of course, is that the United States does not support Taiwan independence. And the difference is, I think, important, even though it sounds like it's not that different. If there were an opportunity for Taiwan to be independent and Beijing allowed it to happen, why would we oppose it? So Americans have never felt comfortable. And it's not the first time. During the Clinton administration, Beijing also tried to get the U.S. president to say that he opposed independence. So what would happen if there were a conversation between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping asked Donald Trump to do something on Taiwan, and then Donald Trump might think, oh, he wants something from me, what can I get from him? And we know he has this proclivity to be transactional.
Yeah. And what does wise leadership in Washington look like in terms of dealing with Taiwan?
Well, I certainly think it means consistent rhetoric about our support for Taiwan, not saying, well, we should charge Taiwan for protection. That's just not effective signaling. I think that we should have very effective signaling in our conversations with Xi Jinping. about the unacceptability of any use of force against Taiwan. And we should encourage our allies to continue to do that, because Xi Jinping has to see this is not just a US-China issue, it really is a global issue. And then, of course, the willingness to help Taiwan, whether it's arms sales, continued training, providing other capabilities to help strengthen Taiwan's resilience. I think all of that is important.
That was Bonnie Glaser speaking about Taiwan-U.S. relations under a second Trump presidency. U.S. markets surged after Donald Trump's victory on Tuesday, with stocks and the dollar seeing big gains. After Trump's win, the U.S. S&P 500 rose while European markets fell. The U.S. dollar strengthened against most other major currencies on Wednesday. Major Asian markets initially gained, but Japan's Nikkei index was trading down Thursday morning. Tesla was up 15% and was among U.S. stocks to see large gains. Its CEO, Elon Musk, is a prominent supporter of Donald Trump and is being considered for an advisory or cabinet role in his administration. Throughout his campaign, Donald Trump promised to levy tariffs on countries he views as unfriendly on trade, and his claims that Taiwan stole the U.S. chip industry raised eyebrows here. To learn more about how Trump's economic policy could affect Taiwan, Alec McDonald spoke with Alicia Garcia-Herrero, chief economist at Natixis.
With Donald Trump looking to put high tariffs on China and other countries that he deems uncooperative in global trade, what kind of consequences could we be looking at in the entire global economy?
What is going to happen? I think numbers will be high, and some industries will go, or some companies. I mean, it will have massive implications. But remember what happened in 2018 and 19. He started carving out the tariffs. So, I exclude this item, I exclude the other item. So it creates humongous uncertainty for companies, but it's extremely costly for the world, because this is not free trade. This is really about, again, arbitrage. Yeah, tariffs here, tariffs there. So a massive downward pressure on growth for the world, because we know trade is growth enhancing. So yeah, and the worst, frankly, might not even be China. The ones that will be affected the most are those who are not ready for this.
Multiple times during his campaign, Donald Trump said falsely that Taiwan stole the United States chip industry, and he also said that the CHIPS Act was a bad deal, threatening to kill it entirely. If Trump were to put high tariffs on Taiwan's chip industry, what kind of consequences could we see?
The most immediate will be accelerating foreign direct investment, greenfield investment into the U.S. to produce in the U.S. But at the same time, we also don't know whether the Chips and Science Act will be maintained. Whether there will be carrots. Maybe Trump is for me, in his world, there are only sticks. There are no carrots. That's why I think he doesn't think highly of IRA or the CHIPS Act, because those are carrots. So maybe, if he lifts those carrots, i.e. the subsidies, and it's only about imposing tariffs, you still go, because tariffs are detrimental if you produce in Taiwan.
In the incidence of high tariffs on Taiwan's advanced semiconductors, what happens to the global supply chain of semiconductors?
I actually don't think Trump is going to impose tariffs of any relevance to AI chips, because they are needed, and basically there's no option. This is the same as I was mentioning, batteries, or like Chinese batteries into the US with Biden. The tariffs went all the way to 25%, not 100. Why? Because they need them. And Trump, at the time, I remember, excluded so many items that were needed, and he will be told what is needed. So I'm not too worried about the highest end chips for Taiwan. But yeah, whatever is legacy, I mean, they're already suffering. Many Taiwanese fabs, because of the Chinese competition, its prices are plummeting of legacy chips. Those, I think, are will face additional problems, especially if tariffs are similar between Taiwan and the mainland for legacy chips.
That was Alicia Garcia-Herrero from the financial services firm Natixis. Taiwanese chip giant TSMC is on the hunt for top engineering talent, and now it's looking to train foreign students for its branches overseas. Tiffany Wong reports.
Studying semiconductors, Japanese student Mashita Ayane has traveled over 2,000 kilometers from her hometown in Saitama Prefecture to enroll at the National Yunlin University of Science and Technology in southern Taiwan, a school she chose because of its links to semiconductor giant TSMC. The chipmaker is funding her studies, and she hopes that if she works hard enough, by the end of the program, she'll also have secured a job there.
簡単なんですけど、やっぱり中国語なので、習ったことないところは難しい。
The fully funded program is all part of the tech giant's efforts to train up its talent for its rapidly expanding business. TSMC just opened its first factory in Japan in February and is set to begin commercial production in the fourth quarter of this year. To meet its recruitment needs, TSMC signed a 5-year agreement with the university to train up dozens of Japanese students each year.
学校自己本身等于有点类似奖学金这样，鼓励他们过来念嘛。我们整个叫半导体学程，那这些半导体学程后续可能会，它也可能在半导体的其他产业啊，可能也在封装啊，可能也在那个测试啊，可能也在各种不同的那个半导体的产业。
TSMC is hoping to expand the program to 90 Japanese students next year. It's also announced plans to launch a similar program in Germany, where the company is building its first European fab, making sure their foreign subsidiaries have the key Taiwanese training that has made TSMC the world leader. Kama Shri and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up after the break, a pro-China party in Taiwan faces a legal battle to stay alive. We bring you stories from Taiwan.
Every day of the week.
Our reporters travel the nation.
Exploring the issues that matter to you. News from here in Taiwan and around the world.
What's up, Taiwan? On TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. The government is trying to disband a fringe pro-China party in Taiwan. It says the Chinese Unification Promotion Party is linked to several crimes and violates the Constitution. Our reporter Rick Liao has been following the story.
Taiwan's Interior Ministry says that the Chinese Unification Promotion Party violated national security laws and election interference laws. It says that its members are involved in criminal activity ranging from robbery and gang violence to human trafficking and even murder. It says that the political party took more than $2 million from Beijing to push China's narrative that Taiwan is part of its sovereign territory and that it interfered in Taiwan's presidential elections earlier this year. Now it's asking the nation's top court to rule on whether it should be disbanded. The government here saying it's damaging the country's democracy. This political party openly pushes for Taiwan's unification with China, something Taiwan's current government very much disagrees with and spends much of its time and energy pushing back on, both at home and abroad. How to deal with China is the political issue in politics here. That's what defines different political parties rather than traditional left-right values. This party, the CUPP, openly pushing for Taiwan to become part of China, would be considered on the far end of that political spectrum. The CUPP and its supporters say that Taiwan is a free democracy and that they have the right to push whatever political opinion they have. But as Taiwan's government is pushing, they could be breaking the law, and they'll have to face those accusations in court. Andy Schreier and Rick Liao in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's annual inflation rate has dipped to 1.69%, the lowest it's been in over 3 years. October's annual CPI growth is 0.13 percentage points lower than in September. It's the second month in a row where Taiwan's CPI growth rate remained under 2%. Despite cooling inflation, officials say the cost of services and rent remains high. Volcanic eruptions in eastern Indonesia on Thursday blasted ash 8 kilometers into the sky. Ongoing eruptions at Mount Lewatobi Laki-Laki have killed at least 9 people since Monday. The government has instructed nearby residents to evacuate a 7-kilometer exclusion zone. Indonesia frequently experiences volcanic activity due to its location on the Pacific Ring of Fire. Thousands of soldiers and volunteers are out in force in the Spanish province of Valencia to clean up the mud and debris left behind by last week's deadly floods. The catastrophic floods inundated homes and businesses, sweeping away cars and collapsing roads and bridges. At least 89 people are still missing, driving fears that the death toll of 217 could rise. The Spanish government has announced more than $11 billion to help those impacted by the disaster and rebuild the province. One of Taiwan's top table tennis players is now a co-owner of an American table tennis team. 23-year-old paddler Lin Yunru brought into the Princeton Revolution, which represents New Jersey as one of 8 teams in the U.S. Major League Table Tennis organization. The league was founded in 2023 and its latest season kicked off in September. And thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out the Euro-Naval Defense Trade Fair now underway near Paris, where drones are the star of this year's show. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.